Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned. Listen to their screams. Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast that feels like you're chatting with friends. I am one of your friends, Dave, and we're joined as always by our other friend, Ike. Ike, how are you?
Well, Dave, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I'm a little sleepy though. Little sleepy.
This is pretty odd because typically we record in the evenings.
Yes.
And this is early. We're in the early morning. That's why my voice sounds a little different, I think, because literally this is the first spoken words of my day right here. So this is weird. You might get another side of us. This is an interesting social experiment here. Are Ike? See, I'm already messing up. Are Ike and Dave? Are they different characters in the morning? Do we have different sides of our person? We could. Maybe we have multiple personalities. Maybe there's a morning Dave and an evening Dave.
That's right. Be. Well, I was gonna say I'm drinking coffee instead of like a beer or something, so it is very different.
Yeah, yeah. I've usually had some scotch, and I'm like, 8 a.m. is a little early for scotch. But really, the only thing that stopped me is, I have to go somewhere after, so I have to drive. If I didn't have to go somewhere, there's a good chance that my morning breakfast would have been scotch. But that's okay.
Scotch and eggs.
Nah, just scotch, no eggs.
Oh Lord!
And I can tell you, if I do have multiple personalities and different sides of it, they're all probably assholes. So it's all the same in the end.
That's right.
So anyway, this morning asshole Dave still wants to say thank you to Monica and Kayla for all their support and all they do. Even though right now Monica's still sleeping and I'm very envious of her. That's okay. But thank you to them, and thank you as we just came out of our Halloween holiday special. So special thanks to them for putting that together. That was a lot of fun. The trivia was a blast. I like that we had a varying degree of hard and easy, so that it was challenging on some, and we learned some things. But yet there was some where we didn't feel like complete morons and idiots.
True.
And of course it was very, very fun because I won. So I'm gonna take what I can get because I don't get many of those. So but it was a good time, and hopefully we're just a few days out, but hopefully everybody had a good Halloween and did some fun things. But remember what we say, Spooktober is a year-round event. So just because technically Halloween's over, yeah, the spooky fun goes on and on and on, and horror movies are always there. And all that means is we're hey, we got a Thanksgiving horror movie coming up this year, and there's a shit ton of good Christmas horror movies out there. So, the horror fun seasonally continues on. And we got a good one today, because today we're reviewing Five Nights at Freddy'S, which is out there theatrically as well as streaming on Peacock. So you can, pick your pleasure or do both, like Ike did. I think he went to the theater, saw it, and believe he saw it streaming as well.
I sure did.
Yeah, so do both. Remember, support these things theatrically if you can. But if you can't, it is out there on Peacock for you to watch. Ike, I don't really have anything else besides this that I watched. Like I said, we just did the Halloween special, and then an episode, a little before that. But I've been busy and did some traveling and whatever else. So I really don't have anything else that I've watched to talk about. How about you?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Like you said, I'm actually getting ready to travel, so I've been busy getting ready, and then of course, just everything else that life throws at you. I will say, really, the only thing I watch was Creep Show. I always try and watch it once a year. So yeah, that's it.
I've got some things that I've rewatched, but nothing
right,
that,
nothing
groundbreaking or new. The typical things, but like with Halloween that I rewatch, the Great Pumpkin stuff and some of the animated stuff I watch, and then it's just typical stuff that lots of people watch. So nothing groundbreaking to really have a discussion on.
Yep. I agree.
But and if people are into that kind of, if they enjoy Halloween, specials, themed, TV shows, whatever, hopefully people will go back in the archives and check out our Halloween special from last year, where we counted down our favorites of Halloween specials, and there's lots of them out there to watch. Whatever TV show you watch, especially from the 80s and 90s, they typically had holiday episodes. So
I will say I had a lot of fun doing that last year. I think that could be something we do again sometime, because I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looking it up, but there's so many Halloween specials, so many.
yeah. I think revisit it. Hey, who knows? Next year, maybe we'll combine. Maybe we'll do some Halloween specials, a little shorter, and then and do the trivia. We can add a lot of stuff to it and do
Oh
different
yeah.
things, and maybe we can get the wives on to throw in some of their favorite Halloween specials episodes, because I'm sure they would have a unique perspective that on some shows that we wouldn't even
Well,
think of.
they
So,
100% would. I could already see some that
uh
Kayla
huh,
would give you.
uh
So
huh, uh huh. Yeah, but yeah, you threw plenty of SpongeBob out there last year, so I know she's the SpongeBob fan. So, but
she is.
I know Monica would bring some unique stuff to the table. I mean, definitely. So,
I think we get a lot more Disney Channel out of Kayla, like That's So Raven and
mm-hmm,
Hannah Montana.
mm-hmm. I believe what is the one what she's a fan of, the Halloween Town or whatever those. I
Yeah,
know those
Halloween stuff.
aren't really TV specials, but anyway, I digress. But before we get to some, we have a few news and anniversaries and stuff. But before we get to that, let's jump in and we'll probably do a quick one here. We're not going to dive probably into this too much, but let's dive into our weekly segment, Horror Hot Take. And this week we're going to do a horror hot take. And I know we did one not too long ago, and there's some other things that we should really be doing. But like we said, given our travel and our things, whatever else, this is the easiest one to basically to pull back the curtain. This is the one that takes the least prep. So
Yep.
that's basically what happened here. So we'll get to the others. We'll get there. We're not going to do trivia. You just got a bunch of trivia, but we're going to throw it over to Ike to pull out a horror hot take. And what do you got for us this episode, Ike?
Yep, absolutely. And this one is truly an easy one to talk about. And it definitely kind of goes with what we basically are talking about this week with Five Nights at Freddy's. So obviously the cinema world has a long-standing, I guess, battle with video game adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. I think a lot of the video game adaptations, and this very well may be the hot take here. Honestly, 99% of the video game adaptations, they get a bad rap, and it is 100% the fault of the basically the hardcore video game fans, because a lot of the times when you see these video game adaptations, especially in the case of like Five Nights at Freddy's or any of the other video games, because there are some other horror video games such as Resident Evil that has gotten a similar treatment. A lot of the times the hardcore video game fans basically they cannot accept a different take on basically what they love, and rather than enjoying it for what it is, a lot of the time they'll just shit on it. And I'm not sure, Dave, if you've seen this at all, but IGN gave Five Nights at Freddy's a pretty scathing review. Now, I'm going to give a small spoiler. I 100% do not agree with IGN or any negative review of this movie. But it bewilders me, because it's such a hard take for video game fans to like really shit on adaptations. And even if the adaptation isn't 100% true to the source material, a lot of people seem to forget that it doesn't have to be. They can take some creative liberties, and I feel like that's like the biggest issue that I see with people, especially with this movie, but with all video game adaptations, like the Super Mario movie. So many people are shitting on that movie, and I recently rewatched it, which kind of sparked this idea, because I was like, well, this was a good movie. FNAF was, I'll save my official review for later, but FNAF was a movie. And I'm just like, why are people shitting on these movies? Why can't people just enjoy things? And yeah, I truly believe that the hardcore video game fans they cannot handle an adaptation. And so a lot of times they want a very direct, line by line remake of a video game. But what they don't understand is that sometimes that's just simply not possible. You simply cannot do that with most video games. But I feel like they don't understand that. They don't understand the process of production. They don't understand script writing. They don't understand any of that. So rather than just enjoying the product, they shit on it. So that might be my hot take, that why can we not just fucking enjoy these movies? Because the more you shit on it and the more you bitch about it, the less they're going to make.
Yeah, and I mean, that applies to lots. I mean, that happens with a lot. But yeah, I think I'm not plugged into the video game community enough and familiar with a lot of these games enough to know the
Right.
differences. But you do see that a lot, because there's things like when you take an adaptation of a book or a story, or even a reboot or remaking of another movie, right? People
Yeah.
they don't immediately jump to crapping on it, a lot of times you'll get positive reviews where they'll say, "Oh, that was a fresh adaptation. That was a fresh or a unique telling of it, or a unique take, or a different perspective, or whatever." And you're right. It seems like a lot of these movies they don't give it that leeway where you can have that a different take, not even necessarily a take, but just a different. I mean, because even if the basic story is there,
Right.
and it source wise, if it sticks, people are, that shirt was the wrong shade of blue. It should have been, it should have been a little bit dark. And it's like, okay, but they don't give it any leeway for that they do sometimes with other stuff. Perhaps it is an unfamiliarity, right? Because people can say, "Oh, that was a unique take on Frankenstein." How many of those people truly have read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to say that they know the source? So I guess, you get that, but it is weird because it's like, I don't get that way with stuff that I'm passionate about.
No, me neither.
I guess I even have, I don't know, maybe I have a multiverse side, perspective where I can say, okay, well, this movie is not necessarily even directly in the book line or whatever. It's the same story, same universe, or same whatever you want to call it. People, characters, story. But this is this other timeline, this other telling of this. This is the movie versions of it, not the book versions, or not the animated version. It's a little, it's something different. And it all pulls from it. And sometimes I'll watch that. I'm like, I didn't like the way they did that as well as I did in the cartoon or in the book. I like that, that source better, or that, backstory better. And that's okay. But, I don't have any problem, as long as you're not making these over dramatic, let's overhaul everything.
Yeah.
Right. But if the bones are still there, and that's, who cares?
Honestly, I was just gonna compliment, because honestly, you're 100% right with the book thing. I feel like a lot of times book fans will give their favorite books a lot more leeway than video game fans will give their favorite video games leeway in terms of adaptation. Like, I know a lot of Harry Potter fans that prefer the books but love the movies. Now, obviously, Harry Potter is a whole nother issue with the author being very problematic, but it's like I feel like there are a lot of diehard fans, like we said, that, like, for instance, in the book universe or even like cartoons adaptations, they give it a lot of leeway. They give it a lot of grace because they're like, this is my favorite thing, you know what I mean? They did really good. But like, I feel like video game fans are just so critical. And I think it's very isolated to video game fans because there's so many examples of video game adaptation movies that just simply fail because the fans refuse to acknowledge it or whatever. But anyways, I thought that was a very good point there, so I just wanted to pat you on the back for that one.
I appreciate it. It's especially early in the morning. I need positive motivation to roll with my day. But I mean, but even I don't know, if you want to zoom out a little, there's so many toxic fans out there on lots of things. Yes. And I'm all for 100%. I'm on board with being passionate because I'm passionate, but don't be toxic. Don't be a gatekeeper. Yeah. Because here's the thing. I have things that I'm so passionate about, but it doesn't belong to me. Exactly. Right? I don't own it. I didn't create it. I can have what I like about it, but I have zero control or zero right to say that it should be this. I can say, I wish it was this, or I would like to see this, or I would prefer. And I people always throw out well, yeah, but we're the fans. Yeah, but when you're creating something, you can't, even if you're trying to say, okay, what would the fans like? You may not be right. You're doing what you think is the best, or what you think is your best telling. But even if you're trying to do it for the fans, you may not get it right. You can still miss, even if that's your intentions, because you're playing a guessing game.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, you're right. And again, I'm not super plugged into the video game community, but there does seem to be some, some of that toxic, the toxic people heavily in it, much like, the toxic people that are in the Star Wars community and the thing. And that's, to me, that's one of the great things about horror fans. I don't see as much of that toxic.
No.
Maybe it's just the people I engage with. Even people that say, I hate that movie. It is horrible. You don't get that level of, I hate that movie and you're a fucking moron if you like it.
Like that vitriol.
Yeah, you can get a, God, I hate that movie. Why do you like it, right? What is it you see? Which is fine because that's a debate. That's a discussion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of horror fans though are self-aware enough to know that, hey, I like some horror movies that, if you really looked at it, can be perceived as a pile of hot trash.
Yeah.
and so, okay, who am I to judge if somebody else likes something else, and, I don't know, maybe it's just the content, that there's some often supernatural elements to it, often, a huge leap of faith or a leap of believability involved in these, that it's easier to say, that's not how I would have told it, but okay, whatever, because, all right, what basis are we going to say this guy that haunts your dreams and lives in a boil, burned in a boil or a fire, kills people with their dreams? What are we going to use as a basis to say what's right or wrong there, right? I mean, it's, okay, I would have told it this way, but you want it this way? All right. It's just, there's not a right or wrong there because it's not there. Much like, a movie like Five Nights at Freddy's. Hey, they're not animatronics that are out there killing people that I know of. And, so whatever. Long story short, don't be an asshole. Don't be toxic.
Amen.
Enjoy what you enjoy. You can have lively debates and be passionate, but be respectful of opinions because that's my biggest thing. My biggest pet peeve about anything. I hate people that mistake opinion for fact.
Yeah.
Because you can't say that. You can't say defend. It's really even hard to say this movie is horrible because what are you basing that on? I mean, because somebody else can say this movie is amazing. And you can't quantify either because they're just opinions. Really, because, we laugh and joke that we don't like things killing, but someone out there may think it's the greatest thing in the world. And neither of us are right or wrong because it's just an opinion.
Yep.
You have different bases and experiences for how you judge anything. So, okay. We said we were going to be kind of quick with it, so let's leave it at that. It's a little early in the morning to go too high up on the soapbox of
True.
toxic and gatekeeping because we seem to talk about that stuff a lot because it drives me mad.
It's same, and I think a lot of stuff can kind of circle around that point. But just to clarify, I think the main thing that I'm saying is video game fandom. Relax.
Yeah. It's especially weird because even in a video game series, you get lots of variant stuff in that series.
You do.
So
that's
how
what
do
I was
you
going to talk about later too, is that the games that this movie's based on are so vastly different from the beginning to end. It's insane to me. And there's books and everything else, so it's insane to me that people are so unwilling to accept a little bit of departure from what they might presume to be the original versus just accepting it for what it is. So
yeah, because if if you're making something and you're pulling elements from all these different things, these different games and books and all, you're pulling little bits and pieces of different, but when you put it together into your movie or whatever it is, you have to kind of, I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of. You have all these different variant things, but then when you put it together, you have to level it out, smooth it out, or else it's going to feel all over the place. If you're jumping around from whatever, one animation style to a different animation style to a different color scheme it can't be jarring. They have to, again, it's too early. I can't think of the word.
Yeah.
You
I know
have
what you're saying.
you have to make it uniform in your project so that it flows and is not, visually or jarring or whatever.
Right. Cohesive storyline.
Yeah. And even, but I'm saying even visually, even the look and everything. You have to, whatever. So it's relax, people.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break so that I can get another little sip of caffeine here. And when we come back, we'll plow right through some of the news and upcoming anniversaries. So hang in there. Make sure you subscribe to Listen to Their Screams on your favorite podcast platform. Also, make sure you look us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, and Slasher. All you have to do is look up Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2 in Screams, and you can find us there. Also, make sure you go and buy yourself a Listen to Their Screams t-shirt. You can find all of our shirts at tinyurl.com/Screams Shirts.
Spread the news. Spread the news. Spread the news. And welcome back. All right, let's get through some news. All right, we have some pretty cool stuff. So, starting us off from the top on the news, Hell House LLC Origins: The Carmichael Manor is going to be released on Shudder on October 30th. There are 3 movies. This is supposed to be the origin of all of the movies. In the first movie, the hotel they go to was originally called the Carmichael Manor. Yada, yada, yada. It's going to be good. I love Hell House LLC. Dave, have you seen these movies?
No, I have. I've seen the first. I saw the first one quite, a ways back. But then, here recently, I went ahead and watched all the others. Yeah, and I love them. I was super psyched for this to come out. As this episode's released, it's already out by a few days.
Yep.
And I haven't watched it yet, obviously, from where we're recording. But I'm super stoked. I can't wait to watch it. I hope they continue to make these movies. And again, just to sing the praise of why we have platforms like Shudder and Screenbox and everything else is. Otherwise, we wouldn't get movies like this. Continue on these, it wouldn't happen. I mean, this not to rebeat a dead horse, but streaming platforms, in some sense, are the straight to DVD equivalent of the past. It's where you got some movies that were really enjoyable that went straight to DVD in the video stores. Some of these movies, not all of them, there's some of them that are going straight to streaming. That's kind of the equivalent, right? If you can't get a theatrical release, there's still an option to put your product out there. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, 100%. And then we also have some news from Michael Dougherty, who is, of course, the he's the basically the person behind Trick or Treat. So he has obviously confirmed, we have talked about it, but there is going to be a sequel to Trick or Treat. It is in development with Legendary, and it will feature formidable opposition for Sam. So there's no word on a production date, but Dave and I both love Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat, in my opinion, is probably one of the pinnacle forms of a anthology film. So if you've never watched it, watch it. But I'm obviously excited for Trick or Treat 2. I know Dave is too.
Yeah, I am. And again, they've been talking about this for so long.
Yeah.
He's always said, "Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen." Blah blah blah. And just, you almost get to the point of, okay, yeah, win, whatever, sure it will. But yeah, he's saying that it's there, right? It's it is there. So, and real quick before we move on, some news that we didn't have on the list that I'm sure the whole world knows by now. That by the time this is out, the Terrifier 2 re-release has already happened. So we're not really spoiling much of anything, and we're not spoiling anything because the producers have put this news out there themselves. But a poster did leak prior to about Terrifier 3, the poster that they gave away at Terrifier 2. But it's been confirmed by Damien Leone that Terrifier 3 will be a Christmas movie, which is so amazing. And he also has confirmed that it's coming in 2024. So I'm assuming, November-ish, early December-ish, and 2024, we will get Terrifier 3, and it will be a Christmas movie. The poster is amazing. It is so cool. But I'm so super stoked. I never thought this. I never saw this coming.
No, me neither.
And it's great. I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I love Terrifier, so can't be Art the Clown on Christmas.
That's all right.
All right. So now we have some upcoming birthdays. Starting us off on November 2nd, 1981, Catherine Isabel from Ginger Snaps, Freddy vs. Jason, and Supernatural. Another one of those people from Supernatural that's been in a lot of stuff. I know Dave loves her. I know Dave loves Ginger Snaps.
I do.
So I've never seen Ginger Snaps, and I do need to check that out sometime. But
Is it on the Dave? Is it on the Dave watch list?
it is not. So I'm actually going to add it right now.
Put it on there. Again,
Put it on the list.
The sequels are weak, but you know, I mean, they're not. The second one's not horrific, but the first one is amazing. And yeah, I love Catherine Isabel. She's great. She was great in Supernatural.
Right.
You know, Freddy versus Jason is what it is, but you know, she's in it, so.
Freddy vs. Jason is a product of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. But yes, it's on my list now. No worries, guys. I'll watch it eventually. And then the day after, November 3rd, 1946, the legendary Tom Savini, mastermind of makeup and effects. Tom Savini's literally done everything. I mean, it would be hard for me to identify a single one that I love more than the other. But I love Tom Savini. So good. So amazing. Yep. Very, very talented.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the greatest things about him, in my eyes, is he's always, you know, he's had a school, right, for these effects for a long, long time. So not only did so much stuff he created, right, and techniques that he created for practical effects, but he's passed this knowledge on so that what he's done and his style will live on, right? It'll continue on. There's new people out there doing it now with his blessing and everything else. So that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. And then on November 6th, 1970, we have Ethan Hawke. I fucking love Ethan Hawke, but he's in The Purge, Sinister, Black Phone. I mean, seriously, Ethan Hawke is amazing. Yeah. He honestly, in my opinion, he obviously was an actor like in the 90s and earlier potentially, but in my opinion, like peak Ethan Hawke is like 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, because I feel like he's had like a career renaissance in the last like 10, 15 years. Yeah. But I love Ethan Hawke. He's fantastic.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, Black Phone just coming out in the last year, and it's amazing. So he's still at his prime to me. I mean, it's still, there's going to be I believe there's going to be a Black Phone 2. There's been a lot of talk of it. So yeah, so we'll continue to get more Ethan Hawke and horror.
Hell yeah. And then a little more legendary than all of these, I would have to say. November 8th, 1847. You heard that right, 1847. We have Bram Stoker, the Dracula author. Obviously, Bram Stoker, you know, created the concept of Dracula, and for the most of the part, you know, he's kind of made that popularized version of vampires. So yeah, I mean, Bram Stoker is obviously a legend in this case, and yeah, happy birthday to him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the most iconic, whatever, you know, vampire of all time. I mean, so many people, you know, think Dracula is just this. It's synonymous, right?
Yeah.
Dracula, vampire. That's, you know, it is what it is. So, we also didn't mention in the news really quick that, you know, just broke the day before. I mean, I know it's not really necessarily horror, but
yeah.
What about Matthew Perry dying? Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Perry, he may not be a horror actor, and that may even be incorrect. He may have been in a horror movie at some point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's done so much, but yeah, you know, obviously I don't, you know, there's still a lot of speculation on what happened. The preliminary reports, you know, say one thing, and it's honestly unfortunate, you know what I mean? And I hate to see it. Matthew Perry is so freaking talented, and, you know, knowing him from Friends and everything else, it is honestly, it's heartbreaking, and I feel for him and his family right now.
Yeah. It's just, it seems surreal, right? It's like,
it does.
It's one of those, you know, you see some deaths, you know, I'm not saying anything's easier than the other or whatever, but it's, you know, you see someone like this, it's clearly shouldn't be their time.
Exactly.
And it was such a prominent person in the 90s. Not just pop culture friends. And it's still to today. And it's just, you know, they just did the reunion thing not too long ago and stuff. And it's just one of those things, you see it and it's surreal. You're like, no, that's not, come on, that's not right.
I thought it was a hoax.
That can't be. And it's a,
well, I literally, because we, you know, behind the scenes, you know, Dave, Kayla, Monica, and I all have like a kind of a group chat. And I sent in the group chat because I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, it has to be a hoax. But if it's not, I mean, Matthew Perry died. And I was like looking on Google, and I'm like, holy shit. But yeah, it's real. Unfortunately, It's real.
Yeah. So, whew. Okay, let's lift our spirits a little with some movie anniversaries. So.
That's right. All right, upcoming movie anniversaries. These are some good ones too. November 3rd, 1976. We have Carrie. This is the original Carrie with Sissy Spacek, and I can't remember what her mom's name is, but yeah, Carrie's in a legendary Stephen King book, Stephen King film. And I recently rewatched the 2013 Carrie, which is really good too. But yeah, can't beat some Carrie.
Yeah, love Carrie. Yeah, the mom was Piper Laurie, who just passed away not so long ago. Yeah, so yeah, I love. Oh, the original Carrie is great. Love it.
Absolutely. And then November 4th, 1988, They Live. This obviously is a
Yeah,
favorite of Dave's.
yeah,
I have seen this movie. It is very good. It's got that 80s cheese, but it's so good.
yeah, and still such a great message about commercialism and
Yes.
whatever else. I mean, and come on, Roddy Piper, give me a break. But I love They Live. One of those movies that one of my favorites. Love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then November 4th, just a short, what is that, 20 years later? Yeah, 20 years later, we have Return to Sleepaway Camp. This, of course, is the most recent entry into the franchise. Return to Sleepaway Camp is kind of a love or hate movie. I didn't mind it. I know, Dave, I think you recently watched it, didn't you?
Yeah, not too long ago. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's kind of a whatever they call those things, a requel type deal because it ignores 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And it is a sequel to the first. Of course, Felicia Rose is back in it and everything. So I like that aspect, right? Because I love Felicia Rose. But yeah, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
clearly a straight to DVD type movie, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Still fun.
I would love to see them do a bigger production movie, and I could feel that almost happening with Felice Rose. She's so active, I think, in the horror community still to this day. I'm really surprised someone hasn't attempted to maybe redo Sleepaway Camp. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, Sleepaway Camp does come with its own challenges because the content matter is a little more relevant in today's world than it was then. So it's very interesting. I'm very curious if they'll ever do anything with that. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, but again, but because of that, if you get the right people on board with a little bit of budget and some people with a proper social conscience, it could be a very relevant
Yeah.
finger on the pulse movie for today that could really be great. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying the movie would have to be overly political, but I'm just saying it could be done right. And who knows? I'm sure a lot of it boils down to who owns the rights and who owns this and that, because that's typically what holds it. Because I'm sure there's people out there who would jump on making something.
Right.
And but sometimes a lot of it, especially with these older horror movies, its ownership is so split and sold and bought, and I mean, look at Friday the 13th and how
That's what I was going to say.
all the struggle. So it's who knows, but never know. Could happen.
That's some shit right there, ain't it? But anyways, November 5th, 1943. We're going back, guys. Son of Dracula. So we just talked about Bram Stoker. Obviously, Dracula spawned into so many different veins and avenues, very similar with all the Hammer horror movies. So, Son of Dracula, I've never seen it, but I'm sure it's nice and good.
Yeah. Well, this one's Universal. This is pre-Hammer, but yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, Hammer doesn't come around for a couple of decades after this. Hammer is the 60s, 70s.
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, and if you go 30s, 40s, early 50s, that's all Universal. Mostly, I'm saying.
Gotcha.
But still, Son of Dracula is a good movie. I always push for people to go back and visit the Universals.
I gotta get my word to try, guys. Although it'll be there eventually. Now, to be fair, it could be the sleep deprivation, but we'll see.
Uh-huh.
And then this last one here, Dave and I are both excited for this because Dave and I are both huge fans of this. But upcoming release, guys, The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 34 will air on Fox on November 5th and the next day on Hulu. I love the Treehouse of Horror stuff. I actually recently went back and binged a bunch of them because on Disney Plus they have like a playlist for it. I fucking love the Treehouse of Horrors. It's just so cool. It's such an interesting concept.
It is. I mean, I'm a huge Simpsons fan. Love the Simpsons, and yes, some of my favorites are the Treehouse because it is not within the Simpsons world per se, right? They don't have to worry about any of the stories, anything that's established within the regular show. They can do what they want. Lots of spoofs or whatever, takes off of horror movies, horror stories, Edgar Allan Poe stuff and Nightmare on Elm Streets and different things. And then others, their own stories. It's just, the intros are always fun. Even the credits where they give all the crew and the writers, if they give them, horror nicknames and spooky nicknames. I mean, even that's entertaining. That's you could just purely tell the people that create, these episodes they're just having fun, right? Because they get to go wild, and it's like you don't have to worry about the backstories and whatever else. Let's just tell something fun and spooky, and some of and again, it's segments, right? It's almost an anthology type deal, right? There's different segments in these episodes, and some of them are some of them are not as good, but there are some classic, and the Shining spoof when that's the Shining.
That was good. I was literally gonna say that. I love that one because what's the guy's name? The keeper. Oh crap. The redhead that's like he works at the school.
Oh yeah, Groundskeeper Willie.
Willie. He's like, you got the Shining.
Yeah, such a good.
I love that.
I mean, there's the one where Willie is like almost like Freddy Krueger too, and it's I mean, there's a Soviet Green one where like in the elementary school they're eating the children, and it's so many good things. And of course, there's the aliens that kind of are through this whole thing. They're the kind of the mascots, or Kang and what is it, Kang and
I
can't remember that one. Anyway, whatever. They they're kind of like the mascots. They, even when there's not a story pertaining to them, they pop up here and there, and it's just they're so fun, and I can't wait to watch this one. I love the Treehouse, and every Halloween I watch a bunch of them, if not all of them, and rewatch them. So I mean, come on, 34 of them. I mean, I think they've had one every season. I think maybe one season they didn't early on. Maybe it might have been the first season.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, but from then on, every year it's they've had one, and it's great. Such a great tradition, and so much good stuff there. Fun stuff to watch. I mean,
it's very nostalgic because I remember watching those when I was a kid, like young.
Yeah, and there's there's compilations, right? There's sets where they pulled these together, and like you said, a playlist on Disney Plus. There's comics out there that's just Treehouse of Horror, Simpsons, and I mean, figures now and Funko Pops, and this is an iconic pillar of the Simpsons. Are these Treehouse Horror? Everybody looks forward to them every year. So
that's right. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and jump into a review here in just a second. But before we do, as I always say, I'm so sorry. My morning voice is still here, and I got to clear my throat. Good Lord.
Yeah. Go and follow us on the social medias.
You don't always die from tobacco. It's like that old don't smoke commercial.
Yeah, with the little voice box.
Good Lord. Oh man.
Enough like me.
I swear I'm probably gonna cancel it for saying something like that, but
too much scotch will ruin your voice.
Good Lord. But
I'm not to make light of cancer, and I understand.
No,
we've all lost people to cancer, but
we sure have.
This is more a pop culture analysis of the ads. So
seriously, that you could do. Eventually, there will be a documentary about the effect of those ads. They definitely impacted me not to smoke. Let me tell you what.
Take it all. You can take it all the way back to the 80s, right? Because you know what? I didn't do drugs because of that commercial that said this is your brain on drugs where they're frying eggs. I'm like, I don't want my brains to be a sunny side up eggs. I'm not going to do that crap.
Good Lord. Well, all right, guys. So before we get too down that rabbit hole, because I could definitely go down that rabbit hole.
Clearly, early morning Ike and Dave are different people here. This is wild.
I know. We're going on tangents about freaking drug PSAs and smoking PSAs. Good Lord.
Woo!
Good boy. Anyways, if you don't already follow us on social media, make sure you do. Remember, we love you guys. You know what I mean? I got up at 6:30 CST to record this episode, and Dave got up at probably 7 or 7:30 EST to record this episode. So remember, we love you guys. We get up early for this shit. I don't get up early for nothing. I don't get out of bed for less than $25 an hour. Anyways, we love you. Follow us on social media. Don't be a loser. And coming up next, we're going to be reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes. All right, and we're back on Listen to Their Screams, or I don't know, maybe we should call it Listen to Their Whimpers. Because and we're going to review Five Nights at Freddy's, or Five Nights at Freddy's, or
whatever you want to call it, guys.
Weekend at Bernie's. I don't know, something.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Somebody's got some duration of time with somebody else. I don't know what it is.
Listen, Weekend at Bernie's is not too far off because there are dead people being posed.
Come on, I think an argument can be made. A Weekend at Bernie's is pretty horrific.
It very much is.
Who wants to carry around a dead guy? And not only that, but it had sequels. How long did they keep the dead guy for?
Listen, all I have to say is that's a felony. That's desecration of a corpse. Like, come on.
They're making horror versions of Winnie the Pooh and everything else. Let's get a good horror version of Weekend at Bernie's.
Hell yeah.
I'm all about that. So, that's not what we're talking about, though.
No, it is not. Not at all.
We're talking about. Wait. So now, okay. Side note: the movie is Five Nights at Freddy's, correct? But I'm looking at the notes, and on the section here that we're at, it says Fight Night at Freddy's. Which, hey, okay, it's not that far off, but here we are making fun of misspeaking of the title. But not only that, I mistyped the title in the show notes.
I didn't even see that until just now. Fight Night at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
We have Chica versus Bonnie.
Be there.
Sweet Jesus.
All right, so this movie was released simultaneously in theaters and Peacock on October 27, 2023, starring Josh Hutcherson, Piper Rubio, Elizabeth Lale, and Matthew Lillard. It was written by Scott Cawthon and Seth Kudabak. And I think Scott Cawthon is the guy behind the initial game and stuff, correct? He is. Yep. He's the Five Nights at Freddy's god, the guru there. Right? The guy,
he is the god. He is my god.
And the movie was directed by Emma Tammy. So, again, this is your vein. This is your expertise, right? You know Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, again, if we were doing the simultaneous Weekend at Bernie's, that would be mine. I could jump on that one a little more. But this is my first. I mean, I'm aware of Five Nights at Freddy's, right? You see it everywhere. I know what it is. I knew the gist of what it was. But this is my first foray into any of the media. I've never played a game, never read a book, story, synopsis, nothing. This is my first foray. So, like we talked earlier, we're getting two perspectives. We're getting someone who is well versed in this universe and someone who it's new to. And now, again, we're unique cats. So while if you take that scenario with a lot of people, it's probably going to be very divisive. It's probably not going to be that divisive for us.
No, I don't. But no, absolutely.
But let me dive into mine.
Yeah.
Real quick, because again, my review won't take that long because I'm just seeing it as just a movie, right? Yeah. I'm sure there's so much stuff in this that I didn't pick up on, Easter eggs and whatnot that I had no clue. But again, this movie, and I mean, to be fair, I drove 20 hours this weekend on a trip and everything else, and squeezed watching this in and all that. So my mental state was not the most aware when I watched it, but the movie, it was fun, right? It was tense and scary because again, I have a thing about these kind of animatronics, not like the normals.
Like Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, like big things, and it plays right into that, and like mannequins and things. I don't know, something about them. Wax figures are the worst. I hate wax figures. Oh, it's like they freak me out. So yeah, it is creepy, and I do like. There's a relevance to me because when I was a kid, these pizza places were big, right? Yeah. There was Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese starting to come in it, and I think a couple others. And there was a Showbiz Pizza, and I went to it fairly regularly, right? It was a thing where once every couple months or whatever, we'd go, shop at, up in a bigger town and go to Showbiz. And it was, I enjoyed it and fun, but I wasn't the guy that was going to walk up to the stage and try to get close to these animatronics, because I was that kid who thought, I'm not going up there because that thing will reach down and grab me.
Yeah.
And so that, it just plays on this weird fear that I've always had. But I thought the movie was really, really well done. And again, I have no concept of how tied this is to anything in the game world or whatever, but I like the story, right? I like the telling. And the character development, right? It was there. There was a reason to be invested in these people and what was going on. It wasn't so predictable where you just knew what was going to happen. There were some twists and turns to it that made it fun. Again, the characters, they were scary, right? The whole concept, but there was more to it than just being animatronics gone wild. It wasn't that kind of, it wasn't a Skynet kind of thing per se, right? There was I guess possession to it, I guess is the best word you can put to it, right? These animatronics were possessed, right, by these children that were killed. And again, is that from the game? Is that the concept in are they possessed in that world?
Yeah, absolutely. The movie is very true to form for that part of it. Obviously, there were some other liberties, but yeah, basically the premise of the game is that William Afton, which spoiler, that is Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard has a alias as a career counselor in this. I think it's like Michael Raglan or something like that. But he is William Afton. William Afton is the original creator of a lot of these animatronics. But he basically there's a lot of backstory to it, which there's some speculation about how it's going to tie to the movie. But basically, he killed kids, stuffed their bodies in the animatronics, and then their spirits possess the animatronics.
Yeah, and again, when you watch it, and you see Matthew Lillard when the guy goes to ask him about another job, because the guy, his younger brother was kidnapped in the when he was younger, and that weighs a lot on his life, right? That drives a lot of stuff. And there's the one where he's a mall security guy. He thinks that, a kid's being kidnapped, so he just reacts and tackles this guy and beats him up, gets fired. So
like,
he goes to get the job.
He beat the ever living dog shit out of that guy. Let's be real.
Yeah, and it was because of his personal experience, right? He wasn't seeing this guy; he was seeing his brother, and whatever. And it was reacting. But then when you watch the movie and he goes to the character, the Matthew Lillard character, you get the sense of there's something with this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, I've got a job for you. You can see the look on his face, right? Of, okay, I'm going to do this to you. And you knew it wasn't on the up and up. There was something to it.
Yeah.
And, and when you're not familiar with this world, this universe, all it is this curiosity. Oh, okay, what's this guy up to? Right? What is he? Is he feeding people to these things, or sending them to it? Is he just tied? You don't know the depths of who he is, and can't guess it. So, that's what. And I love Matthew Lillard. He was great. But again, I'm sure there's a lot that I couldn't enjoy about the movie. Not saying overall big stuff, but just little clips, little Easter eggs, little nods that I didn't get because I'm not aware of the universe. But that didn't take away from just the movie. If you have no concept of it, it's still a fun movie. It's still an enjoyable movie. It's still to me, it was a good story. It was well acted, well shot. Everything about it was good. It was it kept my interest. And I didn't feel that you had to have all this knowledge to still enjoy this movie, which it should be, right? It should have some stuff there for the hardcore fans, enough for them to say, oh, look at that. But then, enough there for someone who is not aware of it. But it doesn't have to have a backstory for every little element to bore you to death, because the movie shouldn't be trying to take me and get me to a knowledge level of you.
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't have to do that. It should just take me and get me up to a baseline of where I got enough to know what this world is, this universe is. I don't need to know everything to enjoy the movie, to understand the movie. And if you bring me up to a certain level, perhaps that will spark enough of, okay, I want to know more, so I'm going to go dive into this other stuff. And And that is a trapping of a lot of movies that are adaptations of things like this, or things where there's a lot of material to pull from. They want to take every viewer and make them an expert,
Yeah.
and you can't do that. And this movie didn't try to do that, so it didn't feel like it was just, I don't know how to describe it. It didn't feel too busy, where it was
Yeah.
trying to, oh, there's this character. Now let me spend 15 minutes telling you this character's backstory so that you know exactly who this is. Okay, here's another character. Here's another 15 minutes of this character. Even though it's not relevant to the story I'm telling now, let me tell you about what they ate for breakfast 10 years ago so that you can remember that, third installment of the video game series, that 2-second moment. Come on. So anyway, again, I on a tangent there. Go ahead, Ike. Tell me what you thought of the movie.
Oh, well, it should be no surprise, but I fucking love this movie. Um, here's the deal. As somebody who has played all of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, minus like a couple of the more obscure ones, and then I've read a lot of the material, a lot of the books, the comic books, stuff like this. I feel like the big thing a lot of people need to realize, because a lot of the people who say that they're fans didn't realize that, first and foremost, Scott Cawthon, who is the creator of these games, had a huge creative role in this universe. And not only did he have this huge creative role, he wanted to try and make things a little bit fresh. So a lot of the stuff that happens in these movies comes from the book series, because there's actually a book series, which the canonicity of the book series is a little hazy when it comes to the video games, just because Scott Cawthon just wanted to do more stuff. So the book series is a little hazier when it comes to how relative it is to the games. But the kind of overarching theme is that the book series, which I think it's called like the Silver Eyes books trilogy, a lot of material from those books was in the movie. So for people who want to say that this did not stick to the lore, read the books. It did. Anyways, um, I loved everything about this movie. Seriously, the Jim Henson Workshop did so fucking good on these animatronics. I mean, I read something that the the three main animatronics, which is Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy, they could be operated remotely, or you could have somebody in the suit. But also the other animatronic, which was Foxy, couldn't have anybody in the suit, so it was completely automated. It was completely remote, but it took like, I think they said like 10 puppeteers to operate that thing, and I'm just like, that is such a work of engineering when it comes to like a movie. Like, it's so cool. But there's so much really cool stuff about this movie. A lot of really cool, little niches, and like Dave said, for somebody who's never played a game, we actually went with my wife's cousin, Sam, who had never really played the games. She knew a little bit about them, but she enjoyed the movie without having watched the gameplay or anything like that. But for me, watching this was so amazing because there's so many nods. And I don't want to go into all of them because I could literally have a whole podcast talking about all of the nods. But there were a few that I wanted to point out, one of which is going to be relevant to Dave. So, Dave, do you remember? You may or may not, because again, it was kind of a subtle detail. But towards the end of the movie, during the big fight scene, Springtrap, which is William Afton, that's his character's name. It's called Springtrap. He wipes his blade with his hand, and it's actually a reference to how Stu Macher wiped his blade in
Oh,
Scream,
yeah.
because he grabs it and then just wipes it with his hand. Apparently that was a detail that Matthew Lillard reportedly wanted to include in his character, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah.
Another thing, there were two things that I was also looking forward to in this movie, because in the video games, in the books, basically William Afton's character is inside the suit, and the suit is called a spring lock suit. Spring locks, as it explains in this, was basically a mechanism that kept basically it was used to keep the user safe from the actual automated suit. So like basically you could put on the suit and be safe from like all the wiring and stuff. But the spring locks were they could fail, and if they fail, it's going to hurt, and that's what happens, right? He gets attacked by the cupcake, and the spring locks fail, and it kills him. Well, it doesn't kill him, but badly injures him. And that was something that happened in the games that I was really looking forward to, seeing how they would put the spring lock failure into motion picture. But also something that Matthew Lillard says before he puts on the head. He says, "I always come back." Basically, in the video games, at the end of the second Five Nights at Freddy's game, basically the entirety of the second game is about Springtrap, which we learn is being possessed by the soul of William Afton in the video game. And at the end, you supposedly kill William Afton after the building burns down. But there's a little at the end of the credits, you hear, "I always come back." And it's because William Afton always comes back. So I was really hoping that they would include that in this game, because it's basically William Afton's whole shtick in the games is that he basically won't die, right? He wants to inflict as much pain on this earth as he can, and he's going to do it in any way possible. So it is so incredible that they included that in this. Matthew Lillard said he signed a 3-movie deal, and this movie obviously did really, really good. It had the biggest Blumhouse opening of any Blumhouse movie, and Blumhouse has a lot of fucking properties, let me tell you. So for this to be its biggest opening as a production studio is absolutely insane. So
yeah, I think come on, everybody knew this was going to be successful, right?
Oh yeah.
It was going to have a huge opening weekend. There's just no way. You knew this was going to be one of the bigger movies of the year.
Yeah.
It destined to be. Now, I do have a question. Great. Again, this is all spoiler stuff, so everybody understand that. There is a mid-credit scene.
Yep.
And where someone says, or spells out or whatever, it says, "Come find me." So who do we think this is? Is this
I'm so glad you asked that. Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So in my opinion, it's Garrett. So
that's what I thought, right? That's what I guess thought, oh, that's who it would be.
Okay, so I told you that I watched this movie a second time. I was like pausing. I was like literally looking for clues. There is a scene, and in the very background, there is a face of a marionette. And there is another animatronic that is a part of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 called the puppet. Now, the puppet in the video games is actually the soul of the first dead kid. And in the book, or in the game, I should say, the first dead kid is the son of Henry. Henry is actually the William Afton's old partner. And my theory says that Henry is in this movie. He is Mike's dad. I think that Henry is Mike's dad. I think Henry is William Afton's old partner. And I think Garrett's
the first kid.
So Garrett's the first kid. And I think Garrett is going to be possessing the puppet. And the puppet is in this movie. He's in the background. He's very, very vague. It's a face. That's all you see. But it's a white face with lines on its face. And I am convinced that "Come Find Me," that's Garrett talking to Mike, because there are other Freddy Fazbear's pizzas in the universe.
Right.
Because there's basically the second game, I think it's the second game. Yeah. It takes place at a different Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And the third game is actually a closed down Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that they turned into a haunted house. But Springtrap is still roaming it. So they had to close it down because people started dying. So basically, I think the next movie, it's going to have a lot to do with trying to basically put Garrett to rest. And I think Garrett is the marionette, the puppet, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm so glad you asked that, because I had that theory in my head. I'm like, there's got to be a further connection. There's a reason Garrett was targeted. And I think he was Afton's first victim. Because in the games, William Afton actually kills Henry's daughter. And his daughter, I believe she gets killed because of some vendetta William had against Henry. So basically, I think that's going to be the sort of story, is that William had a vendetta against Henry, Mike's dad, and killed his first child, which is Garrett. And now Mike is basically going to have to avenge Garrett.
Gotcha.
Now,
okay.
There is another small tie-in that I want to mention. There is a animatronic in the video games. There's a video game called Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location, and it's an animatronic named Baby. And Baby is the sister of the main character in the video games. The main character in the video games is a security guard named Mike. Now, in the video games, it's a little bit different because Mike is actually William Afton's son in the video game, so I don't obviously think they're going that route because Mike is clearly not his son. But in the movies, I think that Abby may eventually die and be turned into an animatronic because Abby is an anagram for Baby.
Yeah, correct.
So I think that's a very clear, distinct possibility too. So I think there's a lot that's going to happen in the next movie, and there's possibly going to be a third movie. And they've also mentioned the possibility of other spin-off movies. So, like, there's so much fucking material. And, like, I have so many theories. But, yes, I guarantee Garrett is who said, come find me. I would bet money.
Well, okay. Very interesting. So there you have it. We both enjoyed the movie. Obviously, Ike. See, and there you have it, right? Again, someone who's knowledgeable and passionate about it. Someone who's not knowledgeable. And this is, the one thing. And we both enjoyed it.
Yes.
So that is effective. So let's rate this thing. I'm pretty sure I know where Ike's going to land on this thing. So, but again, I'm guessing I'm guessing where you are, and I think I'm probably right there with you. This feels to me like a 4-screen movie. I'm giving it I don't even know, maybe you'll go higher, but to me it is a 4 screams out of 5. It was a fun movie, very enjoyable. Kept my interest. And it had definite horror elements, right? It was definitely a horror movie. It was scary. It was frightening. The concepts behind some of these things are freaky. What's going on. So I'm giving it 4 screams out of 5, Ike.
Yep. I'm also giving it 4 screams out of 5. Like I said, I've yet to see a 5 out of 5 scream movie or a 4.5 out of 5 scream movie. I'm waiting until I get really wowed by a movie that really touches me as a person. So we'll see what happens. But yes, this is a 4.5.
There is a Terrifier Christmas movie coming out, so
there is. But yes,
go.
Five Nights at Freddy's did give me a 4 screams out of 5. It is so amazing to see this finally be on film because Five Nights at Freddy's has been around since around 2013, 14, I think. So this is definitely a work in progress. Scott Cawthon never anticipated this to be a movie. He just wanted to make some cool video games for his children as sort of a legacy. But now, like, he's made all these video games. He's made a movie that is going to spawn into other movies, and it's just that's 10 years ago I was 18, right? 10 years ago I was 18 when these video games first came out. So like it kind of came out sort of at a very tentative part of my life where I was entering into college. I was starting to become an adult, but I still held on to some of those things that I really enjoyed as like a younger guy. And video games have always been that for me. So this came out at a very tentative part of my life. And so I always hold on to Five Nights at Freddy's. And that's why I'm so knowledgeable, because this is one of those things that like I've watched so much about, I've read, I've played, all of that shit. So, without droning on too long, just seeing this movie on the big screen was like, I think this would be the same as like, I think I'm trying to think of something that Dave really, really loves that like he like has always wanted to see on screen. Like this is probably how you felt when you watched Star Wars for the first time. Is probably what I would.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This would be the equivalent that if I ever finally got to see the on again, off again. We're making it. We're not making it. We've cast. Oh, who knows? We're not doing it now. The Masters of the Universe movie that they've been talking about for 20 years. That we're gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. It's just they keep teasing it. Oh, it's in production. Nah, no, it's not. And it's and if I ever finally got to see it, I would probably cry.
I think that's how that this is my Masters of the Universe, because I know Dave and I've talked a lot. Matt, he loves Masters of the Universe. He's seen all the animated stuff, which some of that new stuff they made is really good too, by the way.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah.
But anyways, we're not talking about Masters of the Universe.
No, not now. Even though I could ramble on for hours about that, we're not doing that.
Although, to be fair, Skeletor is kind of creepy if you think about it. He's literally a human with a burnt-off face. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's also a character named Scareglow that's very, very creepy. And, I mean, yes, there's lots of creepy elements to Masters of the Universe. And there's a lot of magic and different things. So, yeah, there's a lot there. But, again, another story for another day.
Yes, indeed.
For now, let's again. This is early, so let's wrap this up
Yes.
because I'm still waking up. I think.
Same. Well, I think I'm awake now after getting
Yeah.
all hype about Five
There
Nights.
you
But
go.
yes,
There you go.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Better than a cup of Joe. There you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah. So there you go. Four screams out of 5 for us for Five Nights at Freddy's or Fight Nights at Freddy's or Weekend at Bernie's or all the things we've called it during this episode. The Showbiz Pizza movie. We're
That's
giving
right.
it 4 screams out of 5. You know.
Evil Chuck E. Cheese.
That's right. So here's what you're gonna do. You guys are gonna go out. You're gonna go out to Chuck E. Cheese and get a pizza and have dinner and play some games and go up and watch an animatronic and just stare it in the eyes and say, "I see you, little child that's in there. Don't hurt me. I'm just enjoying your pizza." And then you're gonna go to the theater and you're gonna watch Five Nights at Freddy's and say, "Whew, I dodged a bullet at Chuck E. Cheese because this could have happened." And then you're going to go home and you're going to say, "Wow, I enjoyed that. I'm going to go on Peacock and I'm just going to rewatch it all again right now. I'm going to put it on, and
That's right.
you're going to eat your leftover Chuck E. Cheese pizza while you're watching it on Peacock." So there you go. I have planned out all of your evenings. So go get that done, and then report back to us and
That's
enjoy
right.
yourself. So there you go. Anyway, like we said, 4 screams out of 5 for Five Nights at Freddy's. Fun movie. Go watch it. Watch it on Peacock. Tell your friends. And while you're talking to them about Five Nights at Freddy's, mention us. Tell them about us, and tell them how good Ike and Dave are, even when it's early morning and Dave hasn't had scotch. Tell them we're fun, and share our podcast out there and all the social media outlets and follow us. We're out there in all of them, and make sure whatever your favorite podcast platform is that you subscribe to us and set your alerts and your auto downloads and everything else so that you don't miss anything we do. And so you can wake up on the days of release and be like, "Oh, look at that. It's like Christmas every day or every week when Ike and Dave drop into your inbox or not your inbox, when Ike and Dave drop into your podcast platform." We are not sliding into anybody's DMs. I'm telling you that now.
Negative.
That's right. No. And I don't know what I'm even talking about anyway. It is early and I'm rambling. So just subscribe, right?
That's
Just
right.
follow us so that you don't miss anything. But give us some feedback on social media on what it is, whether it be our horror hot take, whether it be our review of the movie, whether it be the trivia game that we played on Halloween, whatever it is. We enjoy conversation and feedback. So find us on social media and give us some feedback and let us know what you think. And if it's appropriate on the podcast platform that you listen to us, make sure you give us a rating and review because that helps us in those algorithms and helps spread the word of Ike and Dave and our split personalities and whatever else there is. So, all right. We don't know what we're doing next episode yet. We don't have a movie picked. So
Nope.
when we decide, when we look at whatever's coming out, if there's anything there, we're kind of holding because of the monthly announcements by Shudder and Screenbox of what they're putting out. We're kind of leaving it open till the first of the month because while this podcast is released on November 2nd, we're recording it prior to the first of the month when they release the information. Yeah. But when we know what we're doing, we'll announce it on social media. So there's another reason to follow us. And if there's nothing that is out there, then hey, we'll probably dive into the archives and review a classic movie. We haven't done that in a while, so maybe it'll work out. This is the time, and so there you go. So anyway, in closing, Weekend at Bernie's is a fun movie, but it's creepy. Subscribe to us on social media. Follow and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Ike and Dave are still entertaining in the morning, but just in a different way.
That's right.
And Dave is a huge proponent that the world should be accepting of scotch for breakfast because I think it's a good thing, especially when I had to record a podcast episode. And that's that. And
that is that.
And don't be an asshole and be toxic. Sure. There you go. I've summarized the entire episode for you. I don't know why I did that, but we're going to get out of here because I feel like even though it's still early, I need a nap. So before we close out, Ike, anything else you want to add?
Only thing I can say is I always come back.
Yes, but next time we come back, it'll be later in the evening with some alcohol involved.
That's right.
I should be careful because people are going to start getting alarmed. Like, is Dave an alcoholic?
He's a functioning alcoholic, guys. Don't worry.
Does he have problems? because he's talking about how early it is, and he wants scotch. So should we be concerned? No. I do enjoy scotch, but I'm just joking.
Kidding, guys. He's just kidding.
Easy.
Woo.
Anyway, let's get out of here. So have fun, watch some movies. We'll be back next week with something. There you go. And wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.